I did change the due date for the career choices, which a lot of you already have it done, but I had it due today. But I did change it to tomorrow. So since you didn't get any work time yesterday, and I wanted to just give you a little bit of time if you needed it, you'll have that opportunity today. So if you're like, oh, good, I can go back. Some of you are going, nope, mine's done. Okay, so I did change that due date for that. Okay, so let's take a look. Just a couple things from yesterday. So a reminder with the resume. Okay, you have the requirements. So when we looked at Jack's yesterday, he had a heading, he had his education, he had his job experience. Some of you may not have a job experience, but we will figure something out. Okay, that doesn't mean we'll make something up. It just means we'll kind of see what you have done, and it might fall into some sort of an experience of sorts. It's just not technically a job. Okay, so we have those three parts. There's optional items that you can add. And then just some tips. And some of these tips I mentioned yesterday, some of them you'll read it and you'll be like, common sense. Do you have to write them all down? No. But you just need to be aware of them, in a formal way of sorts if you ever need to explain some of the tips and such. So keeping it to 1 page in length. And I will say some of you currently might struggle with that, which is not a bad problem, okay? So we can kind of see how that works, but most of you won't have a problem keeping it to 1 page. No I statements. Yesterday I referred to that with the objective. Same concept if you're listing your responsibilities. You don't always start a statement with I supervise 3 people. Okay, it's about you, so we eliminate that. Punctuations. Mentioned the punctuations yesterday when we had 2 having a period, 2 not having that punctuation at the end. It's just another way of trying to clean up, just not having extra. The ultimate purpose or goal, I should say, of your resume is to keep it clean and easy to read. Okay. I consistently, or continuously, I should say, reminded you to be consistent. So we talked about that yesterday. We mentioned including your month and your year, not just putting 2019. Okay. You don't need a date, but keeping things most recent at the top. We talked about spelling, grammar errors that Jack had on his. Spicing things up, meaning, if you clean tables, maybe rather than just saying cleaning, you could talk about or mention like disinfecting. Just something that is a little bit more, means a little bit more than just cleaning a table. References we did not mention yesterday. Most of the time it's not recommended to include them with your resume. Sometimes it's part of the application process that might be separate. Sometimes they'll say, do not include references now. We will get those if you make it past whatever the first phase of the application is. Okay. And then the bottom talks about doing some peer editing, and we will do that. Okay. Just like looking at Jack's from yesterday, having a fresh pair of eyes is never a bad thing. Okay. So we'll discuss how we'll go about that probably tomorrow. And so that way, more than one person will have looked at your resume before I even look at it. So we can eliminate some of those mistakes that are obvious, but not obvious to you after you've looked at something for so long. Okay. Questions with the resume, tips, just kind of reminding you of some of those, because this is going to come in handy when you start your own resume. Okay. All right. So go ahead and dig out your Mac and get to Classroom. In Classroom, just a reminder, the This Is Me was due by midnight last night, so if you have neglected to hit the submit button and it's done, get that taken care of. The career choices, I moved that to tomorrow. And yesterday we looked through the first 5 terms that we've kind of covered in the vocab. Okay, so that's a working in progress of sorts. If you need to do something to your August calendar, take a minute or two to get that taken care of. Again, trying to do your due diligence of keeping track of if you made money or not made money. All right. Then go ahead and get to your Google Drive. You don't need to be in classroom, just get to your Google Drive. Where I thought. Instead of having 3 more that I'm going to create, I'm just going to open up existing. In your Drive. Now remember, your resume is a working document. I want you to have access to this after you leave Brandon Valley High School. So don't be afraid to share it with your personal account. So you always have access and you can always move it over there at a later point in time. But right now, what I would like you to do, so some people make a resume folder or however they want to create it. It does not have to be tied to personal finance. Okay, however you need to keep in mind that you want to hopefully take it with you. We're going to use a template. Okay, sometimes it just helps us remember what we need to include. So in your Google Drive, you're going to go to New, and you're not just going to click Google Docs. You're going to hit the arrow. And when you hit the arrow, you get from a template. Okay? And then if you scroll, I think it's about halfway down, there will be a category that says resumes. And there's 5 of them listed across the way. Okay? So let me just first explain a couple things, and then I'm actually going to show you 2 of them. And you can always change it if you don't like the one that you choose. Some of them are 2 columns. So the first 2 has 2 separate columns. Some people like that. Some people would rather just have a 1-column document. It's up to you. Okay? And if you're going, well, I don't even know what that is, when you click on it to create it, obviously you'll see it a little bit clearer. So I'm just going to look at one that I opened this morning. So this is one of the templates. Okay? So when you have one of the templates, if you open it up, keep in mind, let's see, with 2 columns, it is actually set up as 2 columns. So if you think back in computer applications, those of you that have computer apps here at Brandon Valley, we worked with columns, and some of you are good with columns, and some of you are going, oh God, no, I'm not gonna, and that's okay. You don't have to. Okay, but you have to realize it is columns. So if you're formatting and deleting and moving some things, you have to realize you have to work with that. That's the downfall of using a template. Okay, so then if we open up, I can't remember. Here's another one. That's one of the templates. Okay, it has the 2 columns again. It's just the larger is on the left. If it's a 1-column resume, you might have a table. Okay, and the reason I say that is if you delete something, you don't want 10 empty rows between content because you deleted it, but you didn't change the height of the row. Okay, so templates are good, but they also sometimes make you have to work a little bit more on formatting. Okay, so if I look at this example one, okay, has a place for your name on the left, and it also says your name on the right. Okay, Just because it says it in both places does not mean that you have to use both of them. Personally, I think it's a little redundant when it's right next to each other. So I would choose to get rid of this one. Okay. And I just moved my address up. Okay. Also, this has a title. You guys won't have this yet. So this is if you are a certain level of a pharmacist. Okay, you have that degree and that's the position that you're qualified for. Then you might have that. For me, I would just delete it. I don't need it. Okay. So if you have a template that you're going to want to use, go ahead and type in your name where it asks you for your name. Again, spell it correctly, first and last name. Okay. Some people put a middle initial. You don't have to. Some people don't include anything with the middle name. Okay. It's however you have your information and so forth. And go ahead and put in your mailing address and your city and your state and format properly, meaning capitalize. Okay. If it's an avenue, it's capitalized A. If it's a street, it's a capitalized S. Phone number, as yesterday when we were looking at Jack's, talked about, don't put a work phone number in there. Okay, use your cell phone or if you have a home phone. If you put 2, okay, after, let them know, or before, that it's a cell phone or that it's a home number. Okay, so if you do have 2, you want to make sure you distinguish. Most of the time you're just going to have your cell. Make sure the mailbox is not full. Email. For this situation, you can use your school email, but if you do have a personal email that would be appropriate to use, meaning it is your name, then maybe put that one in there. But you can, for this purpose, you can put the K-12 account in there. Just know that it will be null and void after you graduate. Okay. So if I'm looking at this and I decide, okay, maybe I don't want all this extra space, you should be able to move things up. It's a table, okay, but it's in a table or it's in columns. So again, we don't want a bunch of blank space. Looking at my template, maybe I don't have any of those hard skills, okay? And so instead of this saying skills, maybe I'm actually going to change that to education. So if I want it to look the same, I can copy it, replace it. Okay, I can come over here and get the formatting for what I want and copy and paste it. You don't have to have things in the order that they are. If you have no work experience, don't have your work experience listed first. Okay? So don't think, however it's set up, has to be that way. Okay, you can modify it. If you don't want something bolded, just be consistent. Okay? Now, some of the other templates, let's see if I can quickly get one here. I don't think I have one from the other. I do have that one, don't I? So like this template starts with the experience, has the skills in a separate area. If you want them bulleted, then apply a bullet. If you want your work experiences bulleted somehow, then apply a bullet. Just because there's not one there doesn't mean you can't use it. Okay? So on this template, they incorporate bullets. Why can't you incorporate bullets on another template? You can. There's no answer I'm going to say, no, you cannot change that to something. If it applies to your resume, you can apply it and put it how you want. Okay. So what else can you include in your education section? You have not gotten your high school diploma. Okay, so you haven't received it yet. Okay, so some people might include, okay, when did I start at Brandon Valley? Okay, August 2018 to current. Some people put it so class of 2022. Okay. Maybe you're going to include your GPA. Maybe you're going to include some of your classes. Anybody in here work for Mr. Marceau at some of the school activities? Hand up, anybody? Okay, then we don't have to worry about it, but that would be a work experience. Got paid. Okay, you had to do certain things. Okay, so if that does apply, or there's some things, creativity of, okay, I got paid to babysit. How does that look? Well, we can work through it. Okay. Anytime that you are responsible for something or somebody and you get paid, we can put that in as an experience. Okay. Or is it a volunteer opportunity? But remember your dates. Okay, if you got an academic award, when? Don't put freshman year. Okay, maybe that was 2018, 2019. Maybe you got it freshman and sophomore year. You don't have to repeat it. You can just put in your multiple dates. Okay? So you're going to have time to work through it. Some people write things out, they come up with the information, it's just easier for them to think, write, and then they take it and they start applying it in an electronic version. Okay? But don't be afraid to ask, because we're all different and we all have different situations. Okay? I don't want you to think, oh, that shouldn't go on there, when it probably should. Okay, because remember, this is to show qualifications and any of your experiences that you've had. It does not have to be specific to a job. This is for you currently. Okay, so this is going to tell you, okay, I really am not doing anything to invest in myself. Why am I not, getting a job, or taking a couple different classes that maybe I should? Or, okay, next year when we register, I'm going to try to get into some of the other classes. Okay, it's a great measuring tool to find out where you are. Okay, so we're going to take the rest of the time today to work, get your mind wrapped around how your resume, what do you need to include, where does it go, how's it going to look, okay, using whichever template you would like to use. Okay. So we have until the end. This is not necessarily homework. Okay, if you use the time, ask the questions that you need to ask, because sometimes if you're asking a question, somebody else might have the same question. Okay, and we can kind of come through and evaluate and come up with a plan. Okay, so we're just using today to work on your resume. If you need to do the career choices, you haven't completed that yet, take a few minutes and get that done, so then you don't have to worry about it. Tomorrow, we'll start looking at cover letters, and you'll have more time to finish and work and share and evaluate, and we'll just kind of keep working through it. Your resume probably won't be done until the end of the week, just going through a few things. Okay.